Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about Kursk direction, where the Ukrainians continue their offensive. First let's talk about Suja. We have adjusted the map. If you remember, yesterday we were talking about Ukrainian progress and videos that were published by the Ukrainian soldiers from the central part of the city. In this video, once again, let's take a look at the video. We see the Ukrainian soldier who was moving along the central part, along the Karl Marx Street, and further we have additional video of how the Ukrainians were moving along the city on the military vehicle. Based on these videos, we were wondering where exactly the Ukrainians managed to establish complete control, where is the line of combat contact, and later we got additional updates from different mappers, and in the end we made the conclusion that most likely this part of Suja, Zaleshki and Goncharovka was captured by the Ukrainians, and we have adjusted this territory. Furthermore, as for different military experts, according to neutral mappers, the Ukrainians also established complete control over this part of Suja, so this territory was captured. And according to different pro-Russian military experts like Rybar, the Ukrainians managed to move even further, and the Ukrainians control not just this part of Suja but also Myrny and Bondarenka. Let's add on the map additional polygons for better understanding of the situation. So once again, according to different pro-Russian neutral military experts, this is approximately the progress of armored forces of Ukraine. By the 30th of August, the Russians currently control just the village of Agronom, the village of Dmitrikov, and the most eastern part of Suja. And that's it. So this is approximately the front line and the line of combat contact by the beginning of the 30th of August, and of course most likely today either going to be the last battle for this territory, or the Russians are able to stabilize the situation and are able to begin the counteroffensives. As for the counteroffensives, most likely the territory of Martinovka is in the gray zone, or at least is a part of contested area, because we continue receiving more and more updates that there are very heavy clashes exactly in this area, and that sometimes during the day this city changes its owner, probably for a few times in the morning. Let's say Martinovka is under complete Ukrainian control, but by the evening this territory can be recaptured by the Russians. So I believe that we should change the color of this area as a gray zone or as a contested area, because there are very heavy clashes and nobody can establish 100% strong control over this city. Now let's move further in the southern direction. We have additional updates. As you can see, we have adjusted the map. During the previous 24 hours, the Ukrainians conducted offensive operations towards the village by the name of Giri. We have a lot of geolocations. Most likely the map doesn't correspond with the reality. The situation is completely different in comparison with what you see right now in front of your screen. So let's discuss in details. We have one video that was published by the Russian and by the Ukrainian sources. In this video we can see how the Ukrainians were entering the village of Giri. First, to talk about this area, we should remind you about the situation that took place yesterday. If you remember, there was a Ukrainian vehicle that was moving in the vicinity of these cities that was captured by the Russians. At least the Russians stated that they managed to take under control one of the Ukrainian vehicle, and later first we have adjusted the map, then people returned the map control back under Russian control, and today we got the final video of the clash that been taking place exactly in this area. And now we understand that most likely the Ukrainians captured Giri, captured the railway station, the forest. We have a lot of videos, a lot of geolocations from this territory. Furthermore, we have some episodes, some videos from the village of Plechova. So summarizing everything, the Ukrainians attacked the Russian positions. Maybe the Ukrainians somehow managed to cross first of all the river from Gluyevo to Plechova, and after the Ukrainians captured Plechova, they concentrated a very big convoy of vehicles and began moving along the main road, first to the village of Spalne, then through Spalne, through the fields, the Ukrainians entered Kupets, then from Kupets the Ukrainians entered Kamyshne, and from Kamyshne they entered the Giri itself from the southeast. So that was the road of Ukrainian attack. The Ukrainians, according to geolocations, according to video we have for that operation were using about 7 armored vehicles and different and additional light vehicles. There were no tanks involved in this operation. After that, the Russians conducted a series of counterattacks with FPV drones, and as a result of clashes, the Russians most likely managed to destroy every single vehicle the Ukrainians were using in this direction, but we still haven't received even a single geolocation that confirms the losses among the personnel. The Ukrainians stretched the personnel between the buildings, fortifications, and inside of the forest, and currently the Ukrainians are trying to dig in deeper in this direction until the main forces of armored forces of Ukraine are able to get this area. As soon as the Ukrainians are able to bring additional forces in this direction, they will begin clearing the territories in Borki and Azorinka, Kucherov, Kondratovka, Goptovka. Furthermore, other sources are saying that by the beginning of the 30th of August of the local time, the Ukrainians also established complete control over the village by the name of Borki. Basically, there were no Russians inside of the village when the Ukrainians entered this territory, and we have additional reports about the control of armored forces of Ukraine over the village by the name of Ozerki. So, summarizing everything, very likely that by the morning of the 30th of August, the Ukrainians controlled this territory, additionally Borki, and the Ukrainians had control over this part of the territory of Russian Federation. As you can see, significant progress. If you know that during the previous 24 hours there was a meeting between Zelensky and the Syrsky, the head of Ukraine army, where Syrsky stated that by the morning of the 30th of August the Ukrainians captured around 1,000 square kilometers. The Russians are saying that the Ukrainians managed to capture twice as less, 450 kilometers. So for now it's very difficult to understand who is telling the truth, who is lying, but obviously we can make a conclusion that Ukrainians still advancing, pushing and forcing the Russians to fall back. Now let's talk about the northern direction. During the previous 24 hours, there were no changes on the ground. At least we haven't received any geolocations. Military experts are saying that the Ukrainians continue offensive operation or counterattacks in direction of Volgovka. The Ukrainians continue attempts to counterattack Reminoye, and there were a report about additional attempts from the Ukrainian side to attack in direction of Tolpina. So at least the northern part is covered with the fog of war. Also there were reports about attacks from Zhuravli to Shuptovka, Kauchuk, a lot of updates, and it's very difficult to understand who is lying and where is the truth in this direction. But we have one geolocation, one video that was published by the Ukrainians on the outskirts of the village by the name of Lgov. Currently we don't know for sure whether it's true or fake. The sources are saying that this is a deep fake, that there is nothing related to the reality, but according to this video, the Ukrainian soldier was making a selfie right on the entrance to the city of Lgov, which is located, according to, let's say, this configuration of the line of combat contact, within a distance of around 20 kilometers from edge Ukraine positions on the northern Suja flank. So very weird situation continued developing here. We see that the Russians still haven't managed to stabilize the situation. Furthermore, the Ukrainians, they see that the Russians are not able to stabilize the situation. They continue attempts to attack in the cities and the villages along the border. In this video we can see a heavy explosion. Maybe the Russians were using 12 tower system to stop the Ukrainian offensive in direction of the Kolotilovka. And this video we can see Ukrainian personal carrier that was attacked by the Russian FPV drone and was destroyed. So there are, as the second day of clashes continues in this direction, as we can see. As for other direction, we have received lots of very interesting updates. We have changes on the ground, and the most important changes are coming from Pokrovsk direction. The Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation stated that the entire Pokrovsk offensive operation is speeding up. The Russians managed to gain additional control over additional cities, villages in this direction. The Russians stated that the village of Lysychny was captured by the Russians completely, and the Russians are about to finish the clearing operation in the village of Zhelanne, in the village of Sergeyevka, Ivanovka. So most likely all these villages will be announced as secured by the Russians within the next day, during the next, let's say, report of the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation. Furthermore, we have additional updates on the ground in the Toretsk agglomeration. According to different mappers, the Russians continue improving their positions in Druzhba Pivnichna area, so they captured additional streets, additional buildings. So we see that the Russians are not reducing the pressure in Pokrovsk direction, in Toretsk agglomeration, but some more and more sources are saying that the Russians were forced to redeploy soldiers and troopers from Chasiv direction to Kursk area. Anyway, as you can see, some of the directions were completely slowed down by the Russians due to critical situation in the Kursk area. Also, we have additional update from Konstantinovka. The Ukrainian sources published the video of how they were FPV droning the Russians. Already in the central part of Konstantinovka, some of the FPV drone attacks took place exactly in this area. Based on this video, most of the mappers have adjusted their maps by adding additional territories under complete Russian control. So for now, according to geolocations, the Russians increased the let's say the area of control by 20-30% of Konstantinovka. Furthermore, the clashes continues along TO524 road. The Russians published the video of how they were FPV droning the Ukrainian forces inside of this area. So most likely the Ukrainians during the previous night, or they conducted a series of counterattacks with the purpose to let's say force the Russians to fall back. So anyway, we can say that there are still very heavy clashes for TO524, and most likely these clashes will continue today. And that's it for this video. Military Summary channel reminds you, we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.